Lucky 13.
Lucky 13.
Today we got Joey Bushes. Joey Bushes.
It's Joey Bushes.
So he said, his name is Joey Bushes. People call me Joey Bushes. I don't know why. I don't ask. I don't care. He was a fun guest. Somebody could come in here and be like, yo, my name's Nikki Giggletush. And I'll be like, cool, Nikki Giggletush it is. I don't care what you want to name yourself. Some people come in with their real first name, last name. Some people come in with first name, first initial, last name. And some people want to be called Joey Bushes. I love Joey. Joey was fun. Joey has had a life, man. He's had a life. What I loved about this episode was his passion of helping people. Joey is a guy that wears his heart on his sleeve to help others. Like, he has a badge. Like a first responder, he has a badge, a metaphorical badge, I think, on his sleeve to help people. This is a great talk. So here's episode Lucky 13 with Joey Bushes.
How many kids you got?
Two
kids?
Yes, sir.
And they, we were talking a little bit earlier about it, but tell me about you were talking about, because I was talking about co-parenting and how much of a bitch it is. So you've got, are they both the same mom?
No.
Okay. So the oldest one.
My 7.5-year-old is with my ex.
Okay. Gotcha.
And my 2.5-year-old is with my current fiance.
Gotcha. Okay. Where's your current fiance live?
New York.
Oh.
It's a strange dynamic.
Well, no. I mean, if it works, it works. You've got to do what's best for you.
Yes, sir.
You know. How long you been in Wilmington?
About 3 years this summer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you living in the halfway houses?
No, I live with my mommy.
Okay. Yo, if there's any woman other than the fiance you should live with, it's going to be your mommy. My mom wishes I could move back in with her. She tells me all the fucking time, well, you can come stay here. I'm like, no, I can't. Now that your two daughters know each other?
Yes. After some time of me rectifying my relationship with my ex and dating this current girl, Tawny is her name, they actually made friends with each other. So
That's so cool.
it's bizarre.
Bro.
It's the ultimate co-parenting. It's got a great dynamic.
And they're both all supportive of these two need to know each other.
Yeah, it took some time, about 1.5 years of dating before I even let my girl meet my daughter and my ex at the same time.
Was that from fear or protectiveness?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. My ex's actual word, quote unquote, was I don't want to know her. I don't care. And my fiance, Tawny, said that she's like, I really don't want to be friends with her because she saw I was in court when she started dating me. I'm the fluke. I don't like to broadcast it, but I was 2 weeks sober after 3 relapses, and a girl from my past came back into my life.
Yeah.
She asked me for a slice of pizza, actually, living on my mom's floor. Third time going at it, actually fourth time because I relapsed for 3 times, and we went out for a slice of pizza. My mom gave me $20. I'd be home at 11. It was about 9:15, and I never came home. So she said, "Stay out if you don't get home at 11." So
damn.
Studio apartment, living on the floor. My mom was the last person to take me in. It was my last chance, really.
Yeah.
And then, the rest is kind of history. We started hanging out. Ironically enough, we'd run into each other every couple years for about 20 years. I was her first boyfriend, first kiss. She was 14, I was 13.
And that's
my fiance.
Yeah, okay.
And we started hanging out. My sponsor said, hell no, as a good sponsor would. And I said, whoa, let me explain the situation, which I did. And he said, you know what? She wasn't one of us. She had a good job, a house. She lived an hour and a half away. She wasn't coming back every weekend. He said, if you miss any step work or if you miss any meetings or anything for this girl, I'll drop you. And I didn't. So
How often you get to see your girls?
about every 2 months, 2.5
Okay.
months, my girl comes down here. And when I go to New York, I stay at my ex's house, actually. It's a whole thing.
You know what, man? Look, this world is a weird fucking place. And if something works, it works. You know what I mean? Like, I am not one to ever be like, well, that's fucking weird. And like, it everything, the way it works, it works. Now, your ex, she's remarried. Or
Correct.
was remarried.
Yes, sir.
And you're cool with him?
I like him more than I like all of them. Could you hear that? I like Dan more than I like all of them. Just kidding. You're all great. I love you.
No, that's really cool though. They I wish I had, like, I have a relationship that it's all about the boys, and we talk about the boys, but we have nothing else to discuss other than that, because we're just so completely different human beings. Plus, when you marry somebody that has an ex that caused them a lot of damage and trauma that you are now having to live with, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have some resentments to it. So anyway, I digress. This isn't about me, Joey. No, that's really cool though, man. And you moved down here to get sober.
No, I was already 3 years sober when I moved down here.
What's your date? What's your clean date,
June 16th, 2018.
bro?
I just celebrated 6 years a couple months back.
That's so cool, man. Did you go hard on your 6? What I mean by that, did you go to a couple meetings and pick up and talk?
Yeah, I did the whole week thing, and my sponsor told me to do. Grab your coin at the meetings you go to. I happen to still go to a lot of meetings, so there's a lot of places where I have a lot of familiar faces and people I care about. And to tell you the truth, after the first or second year, I really stopped caring. And they tell you it's about them, not you.
Mm-hmm.
It is nice, to get that coin and feel like you've accomplished something. But ultimately, this far into the game, I know most of the glory is God's. It's not mine at all.
Yeah, I don't really, like, I go to pick up for people, newcomers, to see it. Like, and when I get my chips, I hand them to my wife. I'm like, this is my dedication to you. Here's another year. Thank you for helping me through everything. Like, it's more for everybody else. And I always forget that March 14th is coming up. Always forget. In fact, year 6, 2 weeks had passed, and I didn't even realize it. Like, you kind of get to pass those stages after a while to where you
Where
develop.
I'm at in my
and-
recovery, yeah, definitely, I can understand that.
Yeah. So what was your DOC?
Cocaine,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean vodka too for a long time.
Oh,
but
nose beers.
we were talking about it before. I smoked weed habitually too, every
Yeah.
single day. For different reasons when I was younger and different reasons when I was older.
Yeah.
Anxieties, stuff, habitual. But yeah, I like to drink vodka and do cocaine, and eventually it led to the needle, which really took me down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, man. That one will do it. That one will do it. It's man, that's we have similar. Like, I wasn't too hard into the old nose candy, nose beers as I called them back then. But if it was there, I was there. Like, I never bought it, but I had
Yeah, I
the
had
friends.
a friend like you. I had a couple friends like you.
Yeah. And they were always around for some reason when, Friday night would come around. Oh, you can throw that anywhere, man.
I stick it in my pocket.
That's fucking weird.
I'm not one. You're not the first person to say that.
No, I mean,
Like, they have a container for that with like a little pouch on the back. I'm like,
Is that one of those Zen things?
it's on.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah, similar. They're a lot smaller. They taste a little different, but same premise.
Yeah,
Little
I
pouch
need to
for the
find
mouth.
something else, like quit vaping nicotine.
I did vaping for a while, man. It
it's-
was hard. It was harder to quit than anything else, and then
Oh, bro.
I'm back on the cigs. I'm back on this. You never know.
I quit smoking well, not quit. I quit daily smoking cigarettes the day my daughter was born, and because my wife smoked cigarettes too, and she would like smoke a little bit through the pregnancy, and I'm like, no, it's freaking me out. And then I still didn't have like the strength to quit because I've been smoking since I was 13, And then as soon as I saw my daughter like shoot out And she did. Like, they had to catch her, like, by the toe. It was so fucking scary. Even then, she was trying to escape from shit. I quit that day, and I'm like, I'm gonna go try out these the Alto Views things because it'll be different, and I can taper myself off. Fucking 5 years later,
Yeah.
more expensive than cigarettes. Like, I go through like a cart a day.
I got lucky, you know. I like to do the Jewel Mint, and they stopped making the flavors up in New York, and then they started banning it through the states, and then it became like a rare commodity. It went from $10 to $40, and I was spending it. But as soon as they dwindled out, I said I tried everything. I was like, you know what? I'm done with vaping.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
Yeah, I limit myself to 1 4-pack a week, which is really hard. When you're sitting there getting screamed, I got 80-year-old lady call me a bucket of dicks yesterday. Like, no shit. I don't know whether I was impressed or offended, probably both. But I was just sitting there chiefing that thing, like just getting yelled at. It's so hard. So you moved down here 3 years after you got sober. What made you move down here?
My mom.
Yep.
To be honest with you, I came down here. And I was like, this place sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I came down a second time, and I was like, this place ain't so bad. And the third time, I actually drove back to New York, packed my shit, and told everybody I was leaving. And they were like, really? I said, yeah, it's a good life down there, and I want to change the pace of things. And a few people disagreed with me. They're like, you're running, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And I said, you know, I originally came down here to visit because I was going through a hiccup in my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I got arrested at 3 years. I let my temper get the better of me, and I made some rash decisions, and I was having some real trouble. And you know, I called my mom and I said, you know, Mom, I'm having trouble up here, and I've gained back enough trust at this point where she said, you know, come on down. My uncle had a job; he was already living here, so I came to work, and I went back to the rooms. And after not going for a while, and my friend Johnny Mustang up north, he's the one who got me back into the swing of things. He wasn't even my sponsor, but a guy I really look up to.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I came down here and I just chased it again. You know, and everybody's like, "Oh, God's right where you stand," and I'm like, I just can't see it. I need a change of something. I just knew it in my heart. So I came down and I went to like 3 meetings a day for like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks while I was here, and I re-sparked that interest in AA and God, and heard it in other people's voices, different dialects, accents, you know, a whole bunch of mishmash down here. And I was like, wow, it's like a melting pot.
It's a melting pot of mishmash. You're absolutely correct. I'm curious about something. Now, I'm no psychiatrist. I'm a good judge of people. You seem like the type of human that loves to help people, that likes to share with people, but also has no issues saying exactly what you want to say and
This guy
think.
is psychic over here. You tell him what I was about before we got on here.
Like, am I right?
Yeah, you're pretty dead on.
Yeah. What has been the hardest thing for you working in the rooms and the programs and sponsoring to where you're like, I gotta not do this anymore?
I gotta not do this anymore.
Or I need to be better at
I need to
blank.
stop emotionally connecting to sponsees and give them a piece of my heart, because it's heartbreaking when they go back out. I'm very emotionally invested. It's just my nature since a little kid. And it's basically chasing people to get sober. You know, stuff like that. Giving people the second, third, fourth, fifth chance like people gave me. But sometimes you know in your heart that these people are just not low enough, haven't lost enough, you know.
Are you able to see that immediately, or do you
kinda
fight
know,
it?
I kind of know immediately, but I ignore it. You know, you can ask some of my friends.
Yeah.
I ignore it because instinctually, they're just another casualty if they're out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's how I see it. You know, I was a casualty out there. I've definitely put myself through a mill, and the needle definitely OD'd.
You've been down here 3 years now.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. And it was basically just to have a change and be around. Part of it had to be just being around Mom. 'Cause Mom is for most people, Mom can be like that sanctuary.
We have a weird relationship, if I had to be blunt about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, me and my mom love each other, but we come from two totally different eras.
Yeah.
So, and it really shows. You know, my mom's only 68. My brother is one of us. My two sisters aren't. But my one sister, she was a handful when we were younger. So my mom's been through the ringer. So she's seen some shit, but she's been down here so long now. I think like 6 years, 5-6 years. That she's kind of like in that like laid back, relaxed stage, and then all of a sudden I'm back on her lap, and even though the house is big enough for the two of us, we just don't agree, you know.
Yeah.
Politically, you know.
Right. Okay.
Stuff like that, and we get along. We don't really talk about it, but we have a really interesting relationship. My mom's a caregiver, and she's great, and I love her to death. We do hang out. I just took her to lunch the other day. Once in a while, we get to play some rummy tiles, or they call it rummy cube. I know it's not called tiles, but we do call it tiles. So we love each other for sure, and I love my mother.
Yeah.
But there's our times when we just don't talk for a couple days because it's a smart move for both of us.
Talking politics with my dad is kind of the same. I don't talk to him for a few days after. He came over today because he just gets bored dropping my mom off at church. And he comes over here to clean my kitchen. Like, it's nice of him. At the same time, I'm like, yeah, I'm 44. What are you doing that for? But then again, I'm like, I don't want to fucking do it. So, yeah, but then we started talking about taxes and politics, and he is very on the opposite end where I am. And I'm like, how can you believe that? You're my father. This is idiotic. And then he just gets up and leaves. And then we don't talk to each other for 3 or 4 days. And then it's like, after that, it's like nothing happened. You know, like, hey, let's go fishing. All right. And then I'm like, you don't remember that asinine shit that you said the other day?
No, they don't.
No, they don't. They don't care.
I think that's just a parent quality.
So your mom's 68. She's a baby.
Yeah.
My mom's 85. 85. And my dad's turning 80 next month. It's crazy on
Mom's
how.
a cougar, huh?
Yeah. She's got them Hot Wheels and everything. She's all about it. No, my mom's a sweet lady. She's very religious. Is your mom religious?
It's another unique conversation. She's religious in the sense that she believes, and she believes wholeheartedly, but she's not like an active community member of the church or stuff like that. But yeah, she has values and definitely religious undertones and beliefs.
It's kind of like me. Like, I'm very spiritual. I was raised like my grandfather's a Methodist preacher. My mom's been the president of the United Methodist Women of North Carolina since I was a kid. I don't know if she is right now or not, but my whole life, you know, going to church conferences, Lake Junaluska. Like, but I'm more spiritual. Like, I know there's something. I know something helped me, guided me to where I am right now. I can't take all the credit, but I will take a lot. Probably a lot more than I should. But, you know, I can't in my heart, I can't be like, I know what's out there. You know, maybe it's because it was beaten into my head over the years. And I was an angsty teenager who always defied what my parents.
Yeah, it's a common story.
Yeah, you know, but I have a question.
Shoot.
Now, Joey, don't you get bored after being in New York with all them fucking loud people? Because New Yorkers are loud.
Oh, they're loud.
A lot more boisterous.
My decibels are about 2 to 3 above most people.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though. I like it because I'm a loud person. Like, do you ever like wake up one day and be like, "Fuck, nobody down here can match me in an argument. I need to go back to New York."
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
Oh.
I came down here to embrace the lifestyle, man. I didn't try to bring my New York bullshit with me. I may not be able to get rid of the accent, but I try to drive in the right lane, try to go slow, take it easy.
Yeah.
Work is not at 7:30, it's at 8:30, stuff like that. You know, just trying to lay back a little bit, enjoy life, not let other things motivate me. Money, people, things. I mean, I like stuff, but in the end of the day, my family's really the only thing that matters.
Oh man, no, that's everything. Family is fucking, and it's weird. How old are you?
38.
You're 38. It's weird how long it takes us to realize that.
I only figured it out about 2-3 years ago. It was about 2-3 Yeah, about 3, maybe 4 years into recovery.
And your youngest is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's 2.5 about now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a great age. I wish my kid could shrink back down to that and not talk anymore. That would be awesome. It's bad to say, but my daughter's a clown, and she has my silver dagger words, and she hurts my feelings every fucking day.
I can understand that as a parent.
My wife camps like hardcore, like 20 miles into the woods with a backpack, lights fires with 2 sticks, and my daughter likes to sleep with us at night. So I stay home with my daughter because I obviously do not do that. And I'm like, well, why don't you come in and you snuggle with mommy? Why don't you snuggle with daddy? She goes, can I be honest? I'm like, yeah. She goes, because you don't wear a shirt and you have really gross boobs. You know how much that hurt my feelings?
Oh, I can imagine.
Because not only would she not snuggle with me and whatever, but then I looked, she's fucking right. They're weird, gross moobs. Like, my nipples point down, and it's not. What has been your biggest motivation? And you said you've had a few times in and out. What was the kicker for you to be like, fuck, like, kind of the same question that I was just asking. What moment, at what point in the 6 years did you have a moment where you just clicked, you're like, fuck, I'm doing this?
I mean, there's so many. Would you prefer earlier recovery or later on in recovery?
Or just whenever you had that moment, you're like, fuck, I'm doing this. Like, you were like that moment of pride.
I think the first time that somebody asked me to be their sponsor.
That's important.
You know, and it was about 15 months in, 14, 15 months. I knew I was part of something. I still wasn't too happy about being there.
Yeah.
I was that guy. You know, my story is wild, man. You know, I got 12-step in the back of a church ready to commit suicide. You know, that's where my story began. I went to another fellowship for 5 years before I ended up in AA, and no bad mouthing any other fellowships, but I just didn't do any of the work. I sat in the back row, relapse row as they call it, or relapse alley, hoodie up, phone in hand, still slinging this stuff out in the streets. And thought I was changing the world by throwing a 50 in the hat and watching their heads spin when they were like, who did this?
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy found me in the back of a church. New Year's Eve, 2017. I had enough. Life was bitter. My girl left. I was in family court. Nobody wanted to be my friend. Family wasn't talking to me. My brother was in active addiction, so he took me in. That wasn't going well either. So I decided one day, I was speedballing at the end. I don't even like dope, but it was cheap. It was easy. It kept me going to the next fix. You know, emotionally, financially, physically, come to find spiritually bankrupt. And I went to that church to kill myself. And by the grace of God, his daughter was collecting the funds. She saw me in bad shape in the back pew, and she called her father and said, she was scared for her own safety, but she was scared for my safety. And the guy left his job and drove over 2 towns to come see me in the back of a church and just tell me his story, man. And it really resonated. The first time in my life, I finally realized that maybe somebody understood what I was going through.
Damn.
And, you know, he said 2 relevant things that I'd love to say on this not podcast.
Oh, you're good, man.
The not podcast. My bad.
You're good.
He said that, you know, I never had to feel the way I was feeling ever again, and that I never had to do it alone. And it was still waters my eyes up a little bit. And maybe under the lights, it's not going to shed some tears, but it's a powerful moment and a testament of what people can do for people and what God can do for us ultimately.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we went to the car, we flushed the stuff, and he gave me a book and said, call me tomorrow. Welcome to AA. I'm your new sponsor. My name is Mike. And I went there to kill myself, and something kept me from it. And come to find, most likely God.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, I didn't get it right away. I stayed away from the stuff for 6 to 8 weeks. I went back out chasing the girl, found out she had a boyfriend, the guy she married. The next one was I got the job, making all the money. And I didn't need meetings. You know how that story goes.
Oh yeah.
And then the third time is I wanted to go to that pool hall that I loved so much, that I hung out in so much time, but the same people, places, and things, man. I hung out at that bar, I hung out in that bathroom, and I hung out in the side of that building, and I didn't use that night, but the power was there. That was just obsessing. And the next day I picked up, like you said, that was the moment I knew I was screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the moment I knew I was doing this. And then I started doing what he told me to do, read that book, show up to these places, and service work. If there's anything I've ever pitched, you mentioned it before, it's service work. These guys threw me in the car and said, where are we going? And they're like, does it matter? Hour and 20 minutes later, hour and 15 minutes later, what are we doing here? Does it matter? You get out of the car, and they were real sticklers. Call me at 6:05, not 6:04, not 6:06, 6:05.
Yeah.
And I needed that structure and discipline, and it got me through the work. They did it relatively quickly where I come from, about 3-4 months, about reading. And, I was staying sober, but I was still an animal. Yelling at people in the parking lot, throwing books across tables, getting angry with the coffee bottle and when we smashed that on it, kind of stupid stuff. Kicking chairs at people, yelling at people, come outside, fuck you, God doesn't exist. They dealt with me. And they dealt with me with grace and humility because I wasn't very nice.
You picked the right room then.
They were teaching me. Actually, my home group is East Northport 164 on Long Island, and They call us the Big Book Thumpers, or the Big Book Nazis for the ones who weren't so nice about it. So they call us as soon as you'd go to a place and be like, "Oh, what group you from?" You'd like East Northport. "Oh, you guys," and they'd roll their eyes. And but they gave me discipline and structure, man. They really did.
Routine's so important,
dude. It's crazy what they taught me and how much I defied it and hated it. And it got me to that first sponsee, and that was like the wake up call. And then court started going well after that, and we settled, and I may not have got what I exactly wanted, but me staying sober proved to my ex and a few other people that I was worthy. And supervised visitations came to an end. That was probably the next wake up when I could finally see my daughter without somebody hawking over me.
Yeah.
And I never had the facility people, but I always had her mother or my mother or sister. And even though it was family, it just felt invasive, like they were in my space. Worth it, man. I always tell these guys that I get, dude, wait until the day they tell you don't need somebody there. Like, that's a miracle. Damn. And I deserved everything they gave me, by the way.
You're making me tear up a little bit, dude, because that's just, I can't imagine like that situation.
It was
a
tough,
kid,
man.
dude. How long into everything did it is what it is. Like, and it had to be like more self-inflicted aggression about being angry about everything.
I was an angry person,
dude.
It's the story of my life as a little kid. Even before I picked up substances, man. I like to steal things and blow shit up and kick mailboxes over and get. All my friends were a few years older than me. A couple were my age as well, but I was Bo's little brother, and my brother was a badass and a good-looking guy and good with the ladies, and that was like the gateway to like friendships that were older than me. And so I got myself in a little bit of mischief when I was younger, and I love that negative attention. That's where it all started for me, negative attention. My mom went to school, she worked. My dad only saw us 2 days a week. I had a lot of freedom, and a lot of freedom, which with that mindset, sad, depressed, lonely, as a young kid, not knowing what it is, and that gave me fulfillment. Yeah. The clown. I was just the fucking clown, man.
Yep. Yeah. And how far into like you finding the rooms and, you're like angry shaking the coffee pot, which I've seen so many people do. You can always tell too how they get coffee. Like if they're like, all right, there, but it's like, wow, you're like, that guy's gonna talk way too much. Like he's gonna have some shit to share when he should probably listen. Like how far into that did your aggression kind of cool out? And was it you that realized like, okay, this isn't getting me anywhere, or was it more of your sponsor when you need to chill the fuck out?
It was the guys. It wasn't just my sponsor. That guy that found me in the back of the church went back out after 10 months of me being around, and I had to get a new sponsor, and that was crushing because I felt like I owed this man my life. This is why they say don't put your sponsor on a pedestal.
Yeah,
because we're just another person, another alcoholic. It was the guys around me that kept on telling me, like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I can remember one story. I actually tell it when I speak a lot. You know, like that guy Johnny Mustang, you know, a guy I really respect, and I'll probably mention him a few more times. He said, fellowships given, friendships earned. You know, and one day I was in the parking lot and I heard him and this guy Mike and my soon-to-be sponsor Ed, my second sponsor, great man. They were in the parking lot talking about a barbecue. We'd always go out for pizza, the diner, shit like that, normal fellowship type stuff. And they were talking about this barbecue, and I'm like, yeah, like, why am I not invited? And they were like, they're like, you know, like, what do you mean? You don't really hang out. These guys are 10, 15 years older than me. And they're like, you know, you're still kind of crazy, dude. And I'm like, crazy? Like, you guys told me to get new friends. Get new friends. I'm like, you're my fucking friend now. Like, and the struggle was there wasn't a lot of younger guys in my home group at that time. Come to find, I'll get to that. But these were the guys I had, right? And all I wanted to do was hang. I started fucking flipping out, man. Like, this is fucking bullshit. You're not my friends. Like, and then they just went like this. Look at you. Who the fuck would want to hang out with you?
Yeah.
You know, we'll get pizza next week. Relax. And that's one of a million instances of just stupidity. When did I really calm down? Probably 2.5 years, and then the 3-year blow up. If you'd like to hear about that, I'm more than happy to talk about
hey,
it.
man, we got time, homie.
That was probably the last time I like completely lost it. But you know, I still have it in me, to be honest with you. To be straightforward about it is probably my number one character defect, is saying things I don't really mean with aggression, attitude, loudmouth, hurtful words. I've gotten 1,000 times better, but I need to get 10,000 times better than that. I know that. You know, I stay silent now a lot. But it's about 3 years ago. My current fiance, we were going through some stuff. This is why they say don't get into a relationship in early recovery. Even though she put up with some stuff and the honeymoon wore off, real life started hitting, and I wasn't exactly the nicest person. She had traumas that probably she wasn't dealing with, but it's not about what she was up to. But I'm in AA. I have this structure that I'm supposed to be putting into play. But we weren't in a good place. That's actually when I came down here. I actually left her in Jersey. She was supposed to come down with me. I said, that's just not a good idea right now. And so I left and I went back to New York, and then she was pregnant, and I didn't deal with it well. You know, we weren't supposed to have kids. We discussed it. She wasn't picking up the phone, man, and I just started overreacting. And I did everything they told me to do. I prayed, I meditated, I called a few people, I yelled and screamed, I cried, you know, stuff like that. And then I went to her parents' house, and I went to go talk to her. She wasn't there. Her mom answered the door, and it was an aggressive conversation, but no harm, no foul. Her mother kept saying it was a miracle, and which it is. But I just said it's also human error. You know, like if you're taking something or you're using protection in any way, and something like this happens, it's human error. And a miracle nevertheless. But I couldn't see it. I totally couldn't see it. And I left there completely unsatisfied because I didn't freak out or say anything crazy. But I was.
You had already made up your mind you were going to freak out.
I wanted to, you know, and I left, and I felt defeated. Like my ego was really hit. Like you should have showed them, and vengeance boiled up in me. And I remember I was sitting in front of a liquor store, Vanderbilt Wines and Spirits, and and I was sitting there, and I wanted to drink so bad. And I wasn't a drinker at the end, but I wanted to drink. So I called my sponsor, and I was telling him what was going on, and he said, "Did you pray and meditate?" I said, "Bro, I don't want to hear that bullshit right now. Like, you don't understand what the fuck is going on." And it's like, yeah, relax. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. And I hung up on him, and I called another guy, and the same story. And I called another guy, same story. And then I got my ex who called me. He was like, I heard you went over there. Just come hang out with the kids. And this is how silly I was being, because they had a daughter who I love to death. When you asked me earlier tonight that if I had any stepchildren, she's not my stepchild, but I consider her a daughter. She's amazing. Her name is Lucy. Reckless Lucy is what I call her.
I love that name, Lucy. That was actually what I was going to name my daughter before my wife decided Tilly.
I thought it was stupid when I heard it, but it's actually
it's a great name.
I love it. I really do. And I said, kids, I only have one kid. And she's like, stop being an animal. Like, just calm down. I've known you for 15 years. You're doing well. Don't blow it all up. Well, I hang up the phone, and I decided I'm going to go blow it all up.
Yeah.
I went back to that house, and I flipped out, and threatened some people, and I caused a mischief and chaos, and tossed some stuff over, and threatened a lot of people's lives with just nonsense.
I'm sorry. I'm listening.
You're good, man.
16-year-old texting me.
Get a ride home, kid.
Continue. I'm listening. I'm sorry.
So I went there and I acted a fool, and I left, and I caught myself some new charges. 3 years into sobriety, and I
What
went.
did you do though when you left there?
Well, I left. I went to my ex's house. I brought the McDonald's for the kids that she told me to do before I acted out, and and I'm getting the phone calls. What did you do? And some. Well, you didn't do what Joe would have done, which is burn the house down to the ground. And like if I got really into my backstory, I've done some real reckless things in my life.
Oh, I know. We could probably another time we will exchange some more stories. Yeah.
And this was the first time I actually went to jail, because I called the precinct, right? I settled down. I know I got to do the right thing. God's speaking to me in my heart. Like, dude, what you just did was crazy. And even when I was in that house, I heard something in my head say, hey, man, like, this is wrong. This is wrong. And for the first time in my life, I knew it was wrong, but I was just fighting against it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I called the precinct. They said, nobody ever calls. Turn yourself in tomorrow. We'll drop the warrant. And I swear. And then the next day, I went in there. You asked earlier about, like, moments when you really realized you were doing this thing. And ironically enough, this story kind of plays into that. And I go there, and I'm talking to the cops. They tell me I got to wait. And so I'm sitting outside, and I'm smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, how did I get myself into this, man? I'm 3 years sober. Like, you got sponsees. Like, what the hell are you doing with yourself? And I get in there, and the first cop that comes in was the first person on site. And she's pointing and hitting me with her finger and telling me what an asshole I am, and how you got a girl that's pregnant and this and that. And I just stayed there calmly and took it. For the first time ever getting arrested. And, man, I've been arrested a lot, and a lot of bullshit. And, and then they're running my pockets, right? And they're getting my coin. They can see my coins. She said, what the hell is this? And I said, well, the first coin was my friend who passed away's coin. And she's like, all right. And then I said, that's my coin. I'm here to do the right thing. I know I made a mistake. And I'm here to take the consequences as they come. And it opened up the doorway, man, to like a conversation. And, she started talking to me, and I gave my side of the story. It was 98% of what they said. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a lie. It was just exactly what it was. And and she said, I really commend what you're doing here. And she started talking about her family and how she had somebody troubled in her family. I won't say anybody who it was. I'd like to keep their respect. And it just turned into a conversation, man. And like, she's like, what you're doing is really great, and you made a mistake. And because she was the first officer on site, and the charges were trespassing, aggravated harassment, and criminal mischief. And I haven't been arrested for a long time at this point. Even when I was getting high, I just was good at keeping out of that. And she said, I'm going to drop the 2 charges and leave just the trespassing in the 4th, which is like the smallest one. And then it's like half an hour to court, and they can't get me to the courthouse in time. You got to be there by 11, and you can stay there. And she goes and talks to the sergeant, and the sergeant's like, fuck this guy. Let him stay in there. He deserves it. And she talked to him. The next thing you know, I got a police escort to the courthouse, and I get there with 3 minutes to spare. And I get out to the courthouse, and I'm sitting in the tombs, as they call them, in CI on Long Island. And for the first time in my life, I knew I belonged in jail. Yeah. And I knew that, like, what was happening was my own fault. And you could hear all the bullshit stories, man. Oh, man, these cops got me. And it's like, well, maybe if you didn't smack your girl or rob that store, unfortunately, they got you with no T-shirt and it's 20 degrees in here. That sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't such an asshole or a criminal, you wouldn't. And I didn't feel that way. I knew I belonged there, man. And they all kept on saying, even the CEO was like, you're like smiling, like, what's up with you? And I was like, bro, I know I belong here for the first time in my life. And I get up to the courthouse. I'm the second to last call. It's 6:40 at night. I've been there since 11. I'm still in a good mood, like just realizing that God's working in my life. Like, how did this coin thing, like, how does this happen? And the judge starts reading, and he's shaking his head. And as he's shaking his head, he's like, I've never seen this in 28 years of doing what I do. The police officer wrote a letter to the courthouse saying that I didn't deserve to have the gavel, smacked down on me, and that, like, I deserve what I got coming to me, but be lenient. And please keep those 2 charges off. And the judge agreed because they can reactivate those charges. And her parents were there. Her dad, who's not too fond of me, rightfully so, he was, freaking out, and they kind of told him to calm down. And the judge just kind of goes to the DA. They're talking. Their DA doesn't know what to do with it either. And I guess they're exhausted, and they felt pity for me maybe, or God was working or whatever. Excuse me. And he said, Mr. Gellish, could you go home and not reach out to these people? Could you do the right thing, like you say in this piece of paper that the cop says that you want to do? He's like, we'll get to this. He said, could you go home and just watch a movie on Netflix, eat some ice cream? This is from a judge, man. I was like blown back because she was like 4 years, 2 years, probation, parole, whatever they're throwing at you. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, listen, I can see it in your eyes, the remorse. And I commend that you turned yourself in and that you came honest. And he said, you have the eyes of a guilty man, but I'm not going to throw the gavel at you. And he ROR'd me, man, and her dad wasn't too pleased about it.
Damn.
And they let me go. And, about 15, 16 months in court, a bunch of this, that, and the other thing, and they ended up dropping everything, man. Everything, and because they wanted the probation, because I was a convicted criminal in the past, and they wanted the classes, which I deserved, and I was willing to take, and all these things, and then a new DA and new charges, and they just kept going back and forth. And then in the end, if you just do the right thing and you show up, you make those amends, which I got to make to her father, her mother, and her.
Awesome.
Her father may not be too fond of me, but me and her mother are really good, and she's a good lady. And like I said, no ill will on her father either.
Does he at least acknowledge that you've put in work?
That's a great question. Do I think he acknowledges? I mean, one would have to say so because, he shakes my hand and he asks me how I'm doing. I know that's got to eat him up. We're on 2 different playing fields.
Well, acknowledging that somebody has worked hard to improve themselves is one thing. Giving in and liking that person is something different.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it sounds like it's, this is a guy who's going to be a part of my family for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And my life. And it's either I can shake his hand and say, cool, and forgive but not forget. So that's the thing I think is stronger than anything, especially to a father.
Yeah, I would agree.
To be able to, like, someone does something I'm never going to fucking forget. I'm going to remember it every second. But acknowledging somebody's ownership can definitely ease down for me to keep an eye and acknowledge the hard work and respect the hard work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely as a parent. I mean, my children are still young, so I don't. Yeah, but I can understand it inside.
Yeah. I mean, mine's still young too, but I'm already still playing. You ever watch Kimmy Schmidt?
No,
where she lives like a show where this chick lives underground and cranks this crank to power the world.
I've actually seen a couple of tracks of that. I've never seen it, though.
I have dreamt about digging one of those up for my dog. I don't want her bad boyfriend. It's like I say it all the time.
See, I have a unique dynamic on that. That's how most men, I think, react and or feel. I got the friends with the guns, and they're gonna prove the bullshit. And as I was a derelict in all of my relationships, everybody's parents, even though they knew that I was a derelict, because it was a known fact in my town, it wasn't the biggest of towns, and and I like to make a spectacle of myself, so people knew who I was. But their parents always welcomed my house, and I was always respectful to the best of my ability. Maybe not to their children, because I was an asshole and a drug addict, and I did some really dumb things. But they always welcomed me in their houses. And my last long-term relationship, it's actually the opposite. Her mom, I think, towards the end, wasn't too fond of me, and her father and me got along really well. And to this day, I love her father. I love both my ex's parents. They're actually good people. They put up with my bullshit for a very long time. But now I came into this dynamic where the father's not too fond of me and the mother loves me, and yeah, I just think life's interesting.
It is. And there's not much you can really, I mean, as long as you know you're doing everything you can for the work for yourself to be the best version of yourself, then everything else eventually falls in the line.
It's taken a long time because I was very bitter against this man.
Right.
And I would be lying to tell you if it hasn't only been in probably the last 6 to 8 months where I finally put it to rest with a lot of hard work, as you put it. And,
Yeah.
you know, the stuff that people don't see behind the scenes, and the stuff between me and my sponsor, really. I got a new sponsor a handful of months ago who's really put things in perspective for me. For a while when I moved, I had the same sponsor, great man, Randall, and he still my friend to this day. But at some point, I was kind of sponsoring myself.
Yeah.
Only because of the distance and the busyness of his life and my own life. And I ran with that for a while, and I didn't make any too drastic of mistakes, but it started getting uncomfortable. I was like, hey, man, you're kind of far into this thing, this like really be doing this shit on your own. And they put it into light. And I worked on it, and I did this 5th step inventory on it. And for the last time I think I had to, I haven't really thought about it until you really brought up tonight, kind of like what my backstory was. And it's weird because it's probably been about 6 months since I've ever thought about like punching him in his face or anything negative, really, which is kind of cool.
It's kind of a satisfying and pat yourself on the back moment. That is pretty. I'm glad. I mean, I'm never the one to be like, yeah, I made you think of this, ha ha. But
you might have sparked a resentment too, so now I'll have to go home and pray about it.
Brings me into the last 2 questions here. Same questions asked everybody, and I think I know where you're gonna go with it. What characteristic from back when you were using still kind of pops its head up right now, and you're like, oh shit, there he is?
Besides for anger?
I mean, you don't have, if you have another one, you absolutely, this is your.
Let's think about that for a second. Thinking I know better. Probably the number one. Thinking I have some answers. Sense of entitlement, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know they go along with ego and pride, but it's definitely on its own level.
It is.
Where I just think I know some stuff. And me and my sponsors do those little inventories. It's a lack of control thing.
Yeah.
That's why I sold drugs for 15 years, man. You know, I had to be in control of something. Control of my destiny, control of what you need, control of what I need. It was all a control thing. It took AA to figure that out. That's why I chose that path.
Yeah.
To be the center. But also try to be the guy behind the scenes. I was like trying to live that 2 lives at the same time. Like, I'm the nice guy, but I'm a fucking drug dealer. Like, how nice am I really?
Right.
And it's all a control thing, my whole life. So, like I said, if I think I know something, it's a control thing. It's always a lack of God and control.
Yeah. How are you at handling humility? I'm asking because, like, I have
The humility and the definition of what? Putting God first and myself less, or putting others first?
No, I would say humility of admitting that either A, you were wrong, or accepting that you didn't know something. Basically countering what those characteristics.
Really good these days.
Yeah, that's good, dude.
Yeah, I'm really good at saying I screwed up. I'm good at apologies. I may not always mean them the first time, but I will say it to say it. And then as time goes on through practices, I will actually mean it. You know, I had her boyfriend, Sarah, who's just on being resentful at me, and I was being resentful at him. And I'm sure I wasn't exactly the nicest when I say certain things. And, you know, when we make a little boo-boo amends, because we're friends as well, you know, I could say I'm wrong very easily with my girl, with my family. My mom is probably the toughest one for me. If I had to put one person, that's the hardest one for me to admit I'm wrong or say an apology. It's my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is.
It's because they have known us the longest.
Possibly.
And they'd see right through us.
Yeah. And I think it's because we just live on 2 different planes.
Yeah, that too. And that's hard, though. It's hard to admit. I think humility for not like mean assholes, because I don't think either one of us are mean assholes. No, we can be. Like, if
Oh, I can be. I got
my biggest thing is defending, like, if I see some injustice, I'm fucking on it, and the demon's coming out. Like, I will protect somebody and I'll let everything go. I'll let all those inhibitions, I'll let the anger come out to protect somebody, or myself. It's my sobriety I guard with no problem. Anybody from my old life comes around that I dropped, I will fucking beat their face in to keep them away from me. You know, I've never had to do that. I'm just saying that you have to be selfish and aggressive about keeping this new version of ourselves. A lot of people disagree with what I just said, but
It's not necessarily disagree. You know, I could see it. In my life, I still inadvertently and directly have connections to some of the people from my past.
Yeah.
Some of them weren't alcoholics or addicts, still assholes. I had a few of them. You know, who isn't in my world at least. I don't know, man. In the last year or two, you know, when they say you hear that pop, that's your head coming out of your ass around 5 years. I really experienced that.
Yeah.
And then they said the next 5 years is about trying to figure out how to use that head, and the next 5 years is about how to screw it all up again. So, you know, I haven't got there yet, but I do know around that 4.5 year mark, something changed, because I felt exactly how you were just stating.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, I treat them with love, man, and I see them. And I hug them and I empathize. I'd have to say my least favorite thing that I've got from AA is empathy. And it happens to be the one thing that I actually have the most of.
Yeah.
Where I could feel people's pain and understand it instead of just knowing their pain with sympathy. You know, and that empathy, it just breaks my heart. So even when I see those old people that have called me during when Hurricane Sandy hit, nobody can get drugs, and I, you know, back in the day, well, and then like further on, like the people during COVID was really the thing where people were like, hey man, could you get this stuff? And I wasn't mean at all. I was like, I'm just not in that life anymore, man. And then, you know, they talk to you for 20 minutes at the end. Oh, you sure you can't get anything? Well, I know the numbers still. You know what I'm talking about.
How's everything else? Are you sure you
Yeah,
can't
pretty
get
much,
anything?
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I welcome them. My life now, if you had a chance to ever speak to the people around me, is really submerged in service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I don't say that to sound cool, and I don't say that to brag. That's just what my life turned into, and I love it, and I love embracing the old people and the new people. Ironically enough, it's funny enough, a guy that I sold to, my boy Bo, shout out, he sold drugs to him for many years.
Yeah.
And he had a sponsor when he came in. Funny enough, I was at a meeting at my home group, just a bunch of sticklers, and he's like, oh man, I haven't seen you in forever. And I was like, I haven't seen you either. I thought you were dead. Or, you know, that's the classic story.
Right.
And he said, oh, where you been? I was like, here. You know, and he's like, oh, and then the meeting started, and I sat in the front, and I was chairing it, and you needed a year to chair at my home group. And he looked at me like this, and I looked at him like that, and he like pointed, and he's like, holy shit. And he got a new sponsor right away, somebody else, and that sponsor happened to go back out. He's sober now, great guy. And he asked me to be a sponsor, and I've been a sponsor ever since. And this is a while, and he's about to celebrate 5 years on December 16th.
That's dope,
I mean,
man.
so I went from his dope dealer to his hope dealer.
Yeah.
That's what we like to say to each other. So
That's cool, dude.
I mean, it's a wild journey, this AA thing, man.
It's sobriety is such a wild journey, period. And that's why I love doing this, because I hear so many different ways that people do it, that so many different characteristics that people still have for it. My favorite question to ask anyone is this one right here.
Yeah, here it is.
You know, it's, and I always say the same spiel, you know, when you dream at night, you can, you know, in your dream, it could be a month, but it's only 4 or 5 seconds. You can think of your whole life in that same time frame. Thinking about your whole entire life up until right now, what are you the most proud of?
Holy shit. That is a good question. What am I the most proud of?
And you can take a second too. Like, this isn't, I've had somebody take 6 minutes.
Wow, that's a mind bender right there. There's just a laundry list of things that you can possibly be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is going to sound so corny. I just know it already.
There's really no such thing.
No, I know. My relationship with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Beyond, because I promise you, I know for this alcoholic that, you almost got me to cry right there. I never thought the thing I hated the most would be the very thing that saved my life. And to be come in here and have the opportunity to help other people and take people through the work and hear those fifth steps and, you know, the speak at meetings and wow, it's a heavy thought, right? Yeah, man. I just been on this wild journey of just trying to do what God wants me to do, and that's just continue to help people. You know, taking service commitments, being part of. You know, I'm no special person. I am not better than anybody in these rooms. I know that now. I was very judgy for a while. You know, an epiphany happened to me last week where I've been praying for about 2 years about like letting go of what other people's recoveries look like. And like a lightning bolt coming home, it's just like, why can't I just be happy for where people are at in life? And it's only can be explained by God, man, because it lifted a burden that's been on my chest for a long time, even in recovery. The very thing I cursed in the back of that church, because when I went to that church, I went there to. Where were you when my dad left? Where were you when my friend died? Where were you when I smoked that first hit or stuck that first needle in my arm? And 6 years later, to be like, that's the very thing that saved my life is nothing short of a miracle. So
That's fucking amazing answer, bro. We made my day. Thank you so much.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure meeting you, brother.
You as well, brother. Thank
Pleasure
you.
meeting you.